Good evening, everyone. This is Rahul Reddy. I'm a mentor at Career Launcher Bangalore. I have with me Dhruti, and she is a CLAT 24 topper with an All India rank of 82, which also gives us a Karnataka state rank of 4. So, first, congratulations for your excellent performance. Wasn't
Thank
a
you
very
so much.
easy
Thank you.
easy paper, but wasn't easy to get these kind of scores. So, yes,
Um, it was an easier paper. Like if we compare them to the mocks that we've written throughout the year, I do think that it was definitely an easier paper. But what I've also seen is that when I spoke to my friends after the paper, the because it was so easy for us to also get in our own head when we saw the paper because it was something completely different than what most of the people who have prepared expected. So I think that I'm just lucky that I kept my calm and I was able to just get through the paper a little smoothly.
right. So, something that Anime sir says a lot, and I agree, is that the final 20% flat battle is in the mind.
Correct.
So, who keeps
100%.
cool in that day is the person who actually does very well. That's good. But let's go back to the beginning. So, a little bit about yourself in terms of how you grew up and the influences around you, and then what kind of motivated you to take up law as a career.
So basically, I'm born and brought up in Bangalore itself. So my parents both have been incredibly supportive, whatever I wanted to do. I'm sure that last year, if I'd said I want to be an astronaut, they would have said, okay, let's figure out how to get this done. They've been
Okay.
incredibly supportive through it all. And so last year, I actually had a small thing where I was not able to figure out what exactly I wanted. I had taken commerce, but I was not really sure what I wanted in that. So me and my parents together sat down. We figured out what options I have available in front of me, and we took a few career aptitude tests. And in most of the tests, I saw that law was coming up very high in the list. So then my parents spoke to me about that, and then we kind of figured out what exactly I need to get through. Like I need to do to go ahead in law. So then we figured that out, and then I enrolled in career launcher.
Okay, great. So I think what my takeaway from this is that it's a when the process is right, I think then the result is something that you can trust. So it was
Yeah,
not on a whim that you just decided. There was a great deal of thought about it, and there was some discussion. There was some exploration of options, looking at okay, it's not just law. It's about okay, if I do law, where does it lead to? What do I need to study? Does it fit my skills? So I think that process is important. I mean, for this
absolutely.
for different students, for different students, the process might yield different results. But I think the going through that process, and yes, in your case, jointly with the family, that's really
Yeah.
cool.
No, what I also felt was that so before 11th, also I was kind of determined on doing law itself. But I feel like that small moment of doubt that I had in 11th kind of strengthened my thing to do law. So I feel like it's okay for us to have doubts in what we're going to do, as long as in the end we kind of figure it out. It's okay for us to have doubts because I mean nobody's going to be set on something from the start. It's that's what I think.
So, coming to the preparation part, you can take it in any order, but let's talk about how the classes were and the teachers and the experience there. Then we'll move to marks after that.
So usually I really like the logical reasoning classes that Sridhar sir had. He used to explain the concepts in a really easy way that, sometimes it's very easy to get into our own head when we do logical because the intricacies and nuances of each option are so intense that it's very difficult to cut down on options. And the way he explained how to do that and the procedure behind that was very more than CLAT. It was just very interesting to me to just understand generally because I feel like now when I do debate or when I do go for competitions now, I look at my arguments in a very different way. I look at it in a very structural manner rather than just something that I want to win. So I feel like that also really helped me. And I really like Shehbaz sir's classes of legal, where he helped us understand how to eliminate. And he told us, like, so one tip that he gave us, which I still used in CLAT, was that once you eliminate between yeses and no's, stick to that. Because once you eliminate, that's done. Like, figure out between the two, but don't keep going back and forth between yes and no.
That I think would have also helped in terms of attempting enough number of questions. This was a paper
Absolutely.
where you had to attempt a lot of questions. True. Then the mocks. You must have taken how many mocks approximately? Do you think you've taken?
So during April and May, when the pattern was still 150, I was more focused on getting my concepts correct rather than taking more mocks, because I wanted to go section by section. Because I felt that if I take a mock first and I get a really, really low score, that would kind of demotivate me. So I went section by section. And from June, I think I would take about one mock a week, one CL mock a week, and I would take one legal edge mock maybe once in 2 weeks.
Okay. So, and then when we look at the uh, these mocks itself, right? So, one key thing that we always say is that taking a mock is part of the experience. The other part is analyzing and learning from that mock.
Yeah.
So, what would you do to analyze a mock?
So usually when I take mocks, what a lot of the people who were also writing alongside me and people who had written before told me is that don't only take one specific like set of mocks, but take different types of mocks. Like I used to take mocks from Career Launcher and from Law Prep Tutorial and from Legal Edge. So I had like different approaches and I had different exposure to different kind of questions and different kind of passages. So as I analyzed, it's once you analyze, what I used to do is when I go section by section, I analyze and imagine in logical I got my assumption question wrong. I used to take a book, write down logical mistakes, assumption, maybe strengthening and weakening, I got it wrong, and maybe I got a flaw question wrong, which I used to get flaw questions wrong very often. So what I should then do is either I would talk to a teacher about it if I've gotten it more than 3 times wrong, because maybe I'm not able to figure it out myself. But if it's the first time I'm getting it wrong in a pretty long time, then I would try and do a sectional, like CL does release sectionals based on like strengthening, weakening, or assumption. So I try and take those and try to just get my concept stronger.
Then the often understated part of preparation for any competitive exams and definitely for CLAT is the kind of people that you study with, right? You if they're talented, if they're hardworking, if they're pushing, competitive, they're also cooperative in many cases. So they tend to rise as a group.
Yeah.
So does that something happen with you? Do you have a group of people, not necessarily formal? We decide we're gang of four, but people
Um,
that you just be interacted with.
More than a group, I felt like it was me and another guy from school. We were like a duo where so he spoke like we just randomly texted one day and we're like, "Are you writing CLAT?" I said yes. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm writing CLAT too." And then we
Okay.
both like I feel like it was so important for me to have him and for him to have me, because more than just analyzing and realizing what went wrong in mocks, we were also each other's support system in a way, because other people outside they don't really understand the difficulties that we go through in this exam specifically. But when I used to talk to him and be like, "Man, I got like 60 in my mock, I don't know what to do," he's like, "One mock doesn't define you. The next mock you're just gonna like go up to 80s and then suddenly you'll be happy again. Don't let one mock define you." And like we were each other's support system in a way, and I really, really appreciated him for it. And even towards the end, like uh, I find that I get anxious very fast. So towards the end, like me and him, literally 2 days before CLAT, we're in Empire eating shawarma and sitting there like we can do this totally. So I feel like that level of friendship really, really did help.
True. No, I totally endorse the chilling out part, though probably would not endorse the shawarma part. I mean, just we typically say that don't take any chances with health with
Yeah.
respect to. I mean, nothing against Empire as a brand, but just in case, worst case scenario, something happens and you're not fully 100% for the exam, but good. But yeah, taking it lighter. In fact, we recommend lightening the workload because the additional 2 marks that you take in the last 2 days will not
Yeah.
really make much of a difference. Much easier. And a lot of people that I've spoken to, Some of them were very calm, but a lot of them were very tense in the run up to the CLAT, even on the day of the exam. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how tense were you?
Um, I would say a solid 7. I would say
Seven?
solid 7. I'll tell you why. Okay. So first, as I said, I had Harsha, and second thing, my parents in the run up to CLAT 1 week before, they started telling me that you need to chill out now, because they told me that, though, as exactly like you said, the two mocks that I'm taking now is not really going to change my life in any way, and instead, maybe I should just read through GK or do something light. And my mom, like in the run up to CLAT, her way of cheering me up was like cooking good food and just
Hmm.
making sure I was in good spirits. And we went out to watch a movie, and she told me to meet my friends. And that's what I did in the run up to CLAT, like the 1 week before, because I feel like in that 1 week, the time it takes you to relax is so much more important than the time it takes you to write maybe one or two mocks. So that's why I really just took that 1 week to relax and get my nerves just ready for the show, because I heard the story of one of my seniors where she was an incredible student, scored like in the previous part she scored hundreds, and then on the day she just it's just very very intimidating to know that 2 years of hard work boils down to 2 hours, and she lost her nerves and she lost her chance to NLS. So that kind of story really did sit with me, and I was like, I just wanted to give my best shot. So,
I think that's really uh, the smart thing to do from your family's side to try and keep you as calm as possible. Uh, but one of the lesser known reasons for writing a mocks is also to make it so routine that the actual CLAT looks like another mock.
yeah, exactly. So the week right before, like my little detox or chill week, I used to make sure that I write mocks between 2 to 4, especially because usually what I see is that 3 o'clock we come back from school, we're super tired, and like our body gets kind of in a cycle where we feel like sleepy towards 3 o'clock. And I did notice that sometimes, and I try to write mocks between 2 to 4 the week right before, so that I would get my body into that cycle of staying awake and staying alert during that time.
True. And I think for a few weeks we also had joint mocks for all the centers of Bangalore, where we
Yeah,
got students to St. Joseph's typically. Joseph's was chosen because Joseph College of Law was an actual CLAT center, and it's
yeah,
been
it
that for
was.
few years. So that's the reason we chose Joseph. Earlier we didn't get, for the last week we got the College of Law itself. Otherwise it was the next building. So that was the reason why it was chosen. So how was that experience? Like I think there were 300 odd people writing
Yeah.
those mocks.
Um, so I remember I've written both the All India Open mocks that were held this year. The first All India Open mock, I did not fare very well, because you're absolutely right. Writing in your own center and writing in a place where there are about 500 or like 300 other people who are as serious as you writing in the same building, it is very, very intimidating. So the first All India Open mock that I wrote did not go very well for me. But the second one that we wrote, that was, I think, very very close to CLAT. I really do think that it helped me out a lot, mainly because so when I walked in, um, I saw like hundreds of students pouring out of an auditorium, which was like intimidating. And it's so like, oh my god, I'm not the only one writing this exam, and there's a building full of people. That's insane. So then they asked us to furnish our admit card, and they checked those details and stuff. And I feel like that formality and just making sure that they simulated as close to a real CLAT experience really helped me also, because I was like, okay, at least I know what to expect when I reach there. So that was helpful for me, definitely.
Small thing, we actually hired external invigilators because we didn't want that familiar face of people in
Yeah.
CL that we knew. I mean, okay, Deepa ma'am was there outside, but the invigilators were all hired from outside, so that none of them that you knew. That's again one small attempt to simulate the real experience. Good.
Yeah, that was, yeah, it's like also seeing familiar. If you see a familiar face, then you feel a sense of comfort, which we don't have in the actual CLAT experience. So
Right. And then coming to the actual CLAT day itself,
yeah.
various people have called CLAT 24 by various names, not all of them printable. Let me just be mild and say weird CLAT exam. Uh, but while writing, what was going on in your head? Did you think too much about it, or you just said like, let's just take it, passage by passage, question by question?
Um, So my center was NLS Bangalore itself, which in itself is, that I'm writing the CLAT exam in NLS Bangalore, which was so intimidating. But when I reached there, I realized that I saw this one dude like flipping through pages of GK, which I was like so psyched out about. I'm like, what are you reading? I don't know. So I submitted my bag and stuff, and luckily my friend who I told you about previously, he was also in the center with me. So we both are like just looking at each other like we can do this, totally, totally. And so I walk in, and the whole like I walk into my like class, and we sit down, and like I had about 25 minutes before I had to actually write the paper, which is like 25 minutes of silence, and that somehow helped cool me down. Where I was like very, it's okay, whatever happens. Just I wasn't very focused on the result more than just I just really wanted to give it my best shot because all I could think of was that my parents are like, oh my god, Dhruti, you can do this, and like my friends and like everybody else who's like been so great to me, and I was just in that 25 minutes before the actual paper, all I felt was like a wave of gratefulness where I was like, these people have been incredible to me, and I really, really want to, you know, do well, not only for me, but also for them. So I wrote the paper, and logical was hard, but that's what I started with. So I think that psyched me out a little because the logical was hard, especially the passage and production, because it was something that we hadn't really seen in mocks before. So it was a little different and new. Then I went to QT, which was a QT. It was very, very easy. And I finished it up in like 15-20 minutes. And I was like, okay, good second section. Then I went to legal, which was also pretty good for me. Um, I got only one wrong, which is because I marked it wrong in the paper. And then I went to English, and I left GK for last because I'm like, if they ask me something insane and I don't know, it's not something I want to attempt first. So I did English, and then I did GK at the end. And when I opened the first passage and I saw the questions, I'm like, I need to burn my GK books right now. But whatever it was, I realized that even while writing the paper, I treated it more as like an experience and something that I had to do. So I just tried to keep my cool, and whatever I was seeing, I was trying to just, actively involve in my writing rather than just, trying to treat it as a new surprise or something. But just keep inculcating it, keep just, making it into your flow. Because in a paper like CLAT, if you take a 10-minute break or something, it's incredibly difficult to finish because it's 120 questions, 120 minutes. So as I was writing, I was just thinking, take it into your flow, take it into your flow, it's okay. And I just told myself, write everything now, do the best you can now, panic later, that's okay. But that's what I tried to do during CLAT. Whatever came my way, I just tried to keep, you know including it in my flow of writing rather than, stop, think, and come back to it like that.
End of this CLAT, lot of students told me that they got psyched by saying, "How can English be so easy?" or "Why is it that GK answers are there in the passage?" So that those are thoughts that are unnecessary and probably dangerous if you
Yeah.
overthink it. I mean, whatever is, and it's the same for every student. So just keep going. Make sure if you know it's an easy paper, make sure you attempt as many as you can because it's going to be high score.
Yeah.
That's
And
really the
while I was writing, also, I realized that CLAT is not a paper that looks at your individual score, but it's instead a curve based paper. So you have to realize that if it's an easy paper for you, it's an easy paper for everyone else. Or if it's a hard paper for you, it's a hard paper for everyone else. So, like that, you have to make sure that your attempts are enough to ensure that you have a decent chance at it. Because some people I realized came into the CLAT paper looking at it like, okay, I've attempted 105 in my mock, so I will attempt 105 in this paper. But that is not how it works. Because you have to understand that as many attempts you have, that's also maybe the person next to you and the person in another center. So
So
yeah,
one of the most difficult things I had to do while mentoring students for CLAT is to tell them to focus on what you can gain rather than fear what you can lose.
yeah,
So many students fear that minus 0.25 more than the plus one that they could possibly get. So
yeah.
this is so
No,
risk averse. It's very difficult to get a good score in a high scoring paper if you're risk averse. So that takes a little confusion. I did the math. I showed them probability, but sometimes it doesn't get in that easily. True.
no.
Good.
I feel like it is a scary thought because when we do attempt a question and we are like, okay, I might get this wrong. In more of a sense, it's like, okay, I'm going to lose the 0.25 marks that I got for a right question, right? And in the CLAT paper, when I was attempting it, I realized that at this point in time, I have to go all out because in the CLAT paper, if you have like a lot of doubts and if you're now thinking, okay, maybe should I attempt this, maybe should I not, then it gets very difficult. So you should, if you're confident and you've seen this in a mock before, you should definitely go for it. That's how I went for the paper.
Right. So end of the actual CLAT, were you happy, satisfied, unsure? What is going on?
So I finished my CLAT paper 5 minutes before. I think it's because of the small advantage I got in QT. And I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, let's count. And I counted and I realized that I'd attempted 115. And so I counted and I'm like, okay, I'm happy with this because the ones that I left, I was sure that I did not know. So I'm like, I'm very happy with my attempts. I walk out. First thing I see, this girl, she's walking in with her exam pad and she goes, I attempted all, bro. And I'm like, oh my god. It is a little scary, right? To see someone else say, oh my god, I attempted all. And so then I spoke to
Absolutely.
my friends. And
Absolutely.
then,
How did she know General Dyer's full name? I mean, seriously.
oh my god, I was like terrified. I'm like, oh my god, I attempted only 115. What's happening? And then I walk out and I realize, okay, she might have attempted all. And this is definitely not a dig at her. But when you do attempt all, you have to make sure that your accuracy is also equally strong as the number of questions you attempt. So I realized, okay, maybe I've attempted a little lesser, but I'm confident in what I've attempted. So I'm very, very happy. And then my dad took me out for biryani and he said, you will now sit and just relax. I'm like,
Yes.
so,
Right. And this obviously following a few days of tension, then you actually get the results. So what was the first reaction when you got the result?
So
You
one of
checked?
my mentors from law prep, he told
Okay.
me you should record you like checking out the result, and I'm like, okay, and I put up the phone there, and there's this insane video of me like sobbing and my brother in a corner like hopping, and my parents going, "You did this! Oh my god!" It's just like this incredibly chaotic video, but it was such a beautiful moment that I could just see the absolute love and admiration my parents had for me and my brother had for me, and it was just a wave of relief that I felt because preparing for so long and just seeing the result in front of you, feeling that sense of comfort that okay, it all paid off was actually incredible. It was an incredible moment, and I'm just incredibly happy.
Good. Now, we discussed that your school has been very, very helpful. So I think it makes sense to talk about it. Tell them how your school actually helped and were very sensitive to your needs coming close to this exam.
Yeah. So I'm from MPS Rajaji Nagar, and so right before the exam, I'm in commerce right now, and all of the teachers allowed me to submit my projects a little later, or in class. Sometimes I used to take my GK book and just keep flipping through the pages, just trying to recall some like just actively recall some things, and they gave me a lot of leeway actually in doing these things that maybe I would not have received elsewhere. And even during my finals which were happening, I got exemption for a few of the subjects that happened right after CLAT, and they've just been incredibly supportive of me. And I'm very, very grateful to all my teachers and especially my principal, who has also been incredibly supportive of my journey. So thank you very much, NPS Rajajinagar.
Awesome. Sure. Thank you so much. It's been a great this thing. But before we leave, can I push you for some tips for the CLAT 25 or any CLAT later students in terms of how they can prepare better?
Um, Absolutely. Okay. So first thing that I did personally, and I feel like it is a good way to go about this is before you start taking mocks, go about it sectionally. CLAT is a paper with 5 sections. You have to make sure that every section is strong before you start writing mocks, because you writing a mock without knowing anything about the 5 sections is going to give you a lower score, which is going to demotivate you, which is inevitable. So try to focus on sections individually. And if you have doubts in sections and you're not able to figure it out after going through it 3 times, please, please do not be scared to ask teachers, because they have done this for so long that they know what goes through the student's mind, and they can just crack that barrier so quickly, and it can that concept can reach you so fast. So don't be afraid to ask teachers. And when you do start writing mocks, understand that mocks are just a reflection of your progress rather than anything else. It's not a reflection of how good you are, or it's not a reflection of anything else other than what you need to improve on, and what sections you're strong at, and time management. That's it, right? And finally, please do not compare yourself to anyone, and that is incredibly hard for me to say when I was comparing myself with everyone. But I know it's a curve based paper, but do not compare yourself with anyone. Everybody has their own journey, and everybody has their own way to reach the top. So do not ever compare yourself to anyone. Just focus on yourself, make sure that your concepts are strong, and it will definitely, definitely pay off. So,
Right. Thank you so much. We will bother you again to give these tips specifically face to face with the CLAT 25 students as we do every year. Of course,
yeah.
it also comes with a get together of the entire contingent who goes to the top NLUs for a celebration. Also, contingent is looking pretty big right now. So let's
I saw
see.
the rank list. That's incredible. I also wanted to say congratulations to everybody else who talked. This is just incredible. It's an incredible moment to be a part of.
Right. So thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I'm sure this will be very very useful to students who view this.